Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 2 of Alternate Future of What If Civilization Started Over. In the last episode, we saw this entire thing begin with the start of World War V and a multitude of events occurring. I'm probably severely underestimating one of these sides right now, but let's get started with the scenario. So, we'll start up in America. As well, it doesn't go good for California. They are completely pushed out of America, and the Americans will continue their spearhead through the nation. They will almost be able to meet up with the um with the coast. I'm not blanking on the coast right now. And we see a new nation joining this war. This nation is on the side of America, America, and it is Alaska. Alaska was partially influenced after the war, or after the Civil War that happened in Canada. No, it wasn't was it a Civil War? I don't remember at this point. I know that was like 3 episodes ago, but still. But we do see another nation also joining this war, this time on the side of the Triangle Alliance, which is also technically a 3-point star, if you think about it. But it is New York. Now, a very, very, very long time ago, New York had actually invaded America. So America might be seeing this as their turn to get revenge. And that's definitely the case, as New York doesn't even get to send troops in before getting stormed through by America. They'll take this peninsula, and we do see the New York nation is able to make a small push into this peninsula here that I definitely know the name of. But it doesn't take long after that happens for America to push back against it, as America was kind of suspecting New York would join this war, and they were definitely right if you're asking me. We see the Great Lakes region is entirely captured as America begins closing in around the Unitarian borders to hopefully stop it flowing in through them. They then move down the coast from there, capture 2 major cities. The entire northern part of New York falls. And then something major happens. Not in North America, not in South America, not in Africa, not in Europe, not in Oceania, but here in Asia. As somehow, although once forbidden by a very large treaty, 3 nukes are dropped on the Indian capital. This is the color I'll be using for nukes, if they do happen. And nobody knows who dropped them. It's completely unknown. But soon after this happens, we see the new technology of the Americans is used. The and HRB, the non-nuclear high-radius bomb. Multiple of them are dropped, especially along the coast, and they just completely annihilate the city. And two of them are dropped on the Brazilian capital, wiping it out completely. After this happens, America will storm troops into the nation, and things just will not go well for Brazil in a bit. All of Brazil's supporters, there's nothing that Brazil is able to do, as most of their military is also wiped out, as a lot of them are stationed in or near these major cities that were attacked. We see the entire northern coast of Brazil is completely captured. All of this land. Some of the other areas that were bombed aren't captured as well. But secretly and somehow, there were groups of people that were like, or not groups of people, but groups of the military that were trained in the Amazon rainforest, and by the Americans, by the way. And they're like, they're not special forces entirely, but after this has happened, you see a new rebellion. The pink team will redeclare its independence and will claim over some lands that weren't even theirs, some lands of nations that barely exist. After the pink team declares their independence, they will send in troops from their nation. They first will capture the Galapagos Islands and will then push in to Brazil. Back in North America, we see the Americans have just almost completely captured all of New York. Their capital area remains, and that is it. New York made a bad decision not joining the war. We see Alaska begin their first invasion into California, and as it's not suspected that it wasn't suspected at all that Alaska would be joining, a lot of the land will fall quite quickly to them. America will begin a second and much larger spearhead straight for the capital. It takes a couple months, and then it becomes reinforced, and eventually it's just the coastline that will remain. So we'll catch up there in a bit. Now, more nuclear bombs are dropped. This time, we know who did it. It's kind of obvious who might be dropping the nukes. As the next nation that gets hit with nukes is the Dutch team, as three of their capitals are hit, or three of their major cities are hit. Then Norway, three of their major cities are hit. Then the pink team, as their capital is hit, and two other major cities. And then a kind of odd one. A major city in the red team is hit, as well as two in the blue team. If you don't know who did it, well, it was Russia. Russia had technically not signed the treaty. So if we look at the AN, Russia's not in the AN. So they never signed the treaty that prohibited nuclear bombs. And they unveil that they have 10 more nuclear bombs in their storage. And then it's unveiled that other nations also have nuclear bombs, such as Red Australia, who has only 7, but still a decent number. And then the anti-nuclear bomb treaty is officially broken by the first nation, as China will secretly regain all 30 of their nukes. When China had dumped their nukes into the ocean, no, they didn't. They secretly stored them in a secret bunker just off the coast of Taiwan on this small island that nobody knew about. But we see that's not the only thing that's happened, as America will unveil 17 more non-nuclear high radius bombs. It's also shown that Mexico has 6 of these, 7 are in West Africa, and 13 more are in the Dutch Sea. This is getting to the point where it's not really just conventional war anymore. It could be an all-out blast. And with this, the AN will officially step up. Multiple nations all around the world, members of the AN, will state that they don't like what's going on. These members, which will be colored in blue, will become their own side in this war. These are Argentina and this northern Argentina. Southern Argentina and this. Dang it. Okay. So, southern Argentina and this northern Argentina nation should I fix it. So these two nations here, South Africa and most of the other South African nations will join with this. And then we see almost every member in the AN in Mesopotamia and just the general Middle Eastern region will also step up. Persia will initially refrain from doing so, but will then later switch sides and will join this cause. Do we just see them joining or switching sides? No. As we see, South China and Vietnam will work together, putting aside their differences, to stop China from developing more nukes. South China, China's closest ally, and they didn't even know China had nukes. Tibet will switch sides, and some of the biggest nations of all will join this nation. Uh, or join this cause. Ireland, Galicia, Andalusia, Catalonia, Rome, Germany, Poland, the Farmers Union, the Gold Team, and Azov will also all join this cause. They will, they will be represented by the same symbol as the AN in the Alliance layer. So again, Tibet, Persia, and even some nations not in the AN will also join this, such as these two here. And this is officially the next major alliance that participates in World War V. The War of the Elites has officially had its final blow. As all of these nations work together, joining this alliance, many of them will leave their old alliance and this grows quite rapidly. I'm going to turn back on the AN layer. So as we see, nations all around the world are up with this. Even some other nations I didn't mention will join. These nations all are willing to work together to put a stop to elitism. Wait, the gold team has joined this, working with the gold team, working with Tanzania. It's like Germany and Poland working together. Real, but probably unbelievable from by some. Stop. Alright. Alright. All of these nations have joined up with this. And we see other nations betray China and America across the entire world. And another large power will join this alliance, as the Unitarians will finally mark their stance. And this become the height of World War V. All the nations that were previously sided with one of the others will leave that alliance to join up with the to join up with the AN. India and China are now almost are pretty much completely surrounded at this point by nations who abandoned them for a cause that will hopefully be better. Many nations, however, will stay loyal to their original group. However, most will not. And not long after this entire operation begins, 5 more loud booms are heard. But this time, it's not from nukes, not from NHRBs, but they're gunshots. Gunshots fired by the people for the people. As 3 massive rebellions pop up in the both America. There are 2 in America, one up in Michigan, one down in Florida. There is a, there are 2 more over in the Chinese area, specifically around the northern part of the Yellow Sea. Then there's one south in these southern parts of India, really by where Swan Nation once was. So they thought they were joining a better side, but they weren't. The final 2 are down here in West Africa. And lastly, Texas. A once powerful nation, or powerful-ish nation in World War III, will rise up against Mexico and America to fight. But for now, we'll see some of the fighting continuing on, as Tibet will send a lot of Indian forces into India, as a lot of the forces in these nations is kind of changing. And it's looking like, and a lot of the times, in some of those nations that are facing some rebellions, we see in areas that are a bit further away from the capital, it's easier for them to invade, and especially seen with like China and India, as a lot of their troops focusing on like the rebellions. But we do see Tibet is able to push out China from in their territory, and they actually kind of help India. Then they just take it themselves. And Tibet seems to be the leading power for right now. But that will do it for today's episode of Alternate Future of What If Civilization Started Over. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.